Okay, folks, all the critters are on the dais, so we can proceed. So we'll start with council directions. You want to do roll call first, I guess, officially?
Councilmember Baines. Councilmember Brand. Councilmember Brandow.
Here.
Councilmember Olivier. Councilmember Quintero. Councilmember Soria. Here. Council President Capriolio.
I am here. Thank you very much. If you all stand and we'll salute the flag. Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance. Thank you very much. Okay, going to council directions. It seems that the administration has given all the information that was requested pursuant to council directions. Unless someone tells me different, we can move on to motions. Seeing no... Bruce, did you want to make any comments on the council directions, additions, deletions, corrections? You're solid.
No, I just, one item, I just want to make sure, because it got out a little late last night, I did provide the council, per previous conversations, a list of deferred capital repairs, and I did break it out as I had indicated, Tier 1 and Tier 2, so for your consideration later on.
Thank you very much. Good job, Bruce. Thank you again. Okay, we'll move on to council motions.
Oh.
We have some people punched up. Do you want to be heard now? Okay, we'll start with member Olivier. Welcome home.
Thank you. Can we take a couple other council members before coming to me?
Sure.
Thank you.
Council member Brandow.
Come back.
So, Council President, this is time for council motions. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. A motion that I made last week, I'm going to kind of remake the motion, and it had to do with money for EDC, the Economic Development Corp, for $50,000 to help them retain businesses in the county of Fresno, including the city of Fresno. I'd like to update that and give direction to implement their strategic plan. This money is to help them implement their strategic plan. It's just
which number is that?
Helping give them direction.
11. Thank you.
That's number 11.
What language did you want to add?
And that was in the amount of $50,000. Then I also have a, last week talking to Public Works at the end of the week, I think it might have been the last budget hearing, department budget hearing of the whole week. I had noticed that we had not included the Neighborhood Streets program, which we had funded last year, which really, in my opinion, is what our citizens I want to say want the most. I know they need a lot of things, but this is one thing that I hear about consistently since I've been a council member is fixing our streets, right? And so we didn't refund that again this year, so I'm going to make a motion to fund the Neighborhood Streets program. It's $1,050,000. That money's divided equally among the 7 council districts, where the council members get an opportunity to discuss with Public Works which streets that they need repaired in their district. So
I'll second that.
Okay.
So $1,050,000 for street maintenance and repairs?
Yes, Neighborhood Street Program.
Okay.
Can you repeat that, please?
Council President,
Yes,
was there a second on that?
I
motion?
seconded the
Okay,
motion.
Thank you.
I'm trying to find it again. There's about 7 papers up here. None of them seem to be that consistent.
What are you looking for?
Your
That's a new one. So it's
That's
not
a new
on,
one. Okay.
That's not on that list.
So would you repeat it again for
Yeah.
Councilmember Olivier so we can have it directly from you?
It's a motion to fund the Neighborhood Streets Program for $150,000 per council district, or $1,050,000, and it's to repair streets, neighborhood streets in our council districts throughout the city of Fresno.
Member Olivier, did you have anything else on that issue?
I just wanted that to be read back.
Okay, very
Wasn't
good. So we have a
quite
motion
clear.
and a second. Would we consider that today or now, City Attorney, take it out to public? And
The procedure normally is you just go through the motions and then ask if there are any additional motions, and when each motion is called, read the motion, ask if there's any public comment, come back to the dais and vote on it, discuss and vote on it.
Okay. So we have more members punched up. Did you want to have an opening statement? So that would be Member Soria is next, and then Member Brand after that.
So in terms of motions, we'll do them after we've gone through this list, correct? Is that what we're doing?
Well, we're going to listen to your opening comments that are punched up now. Then I plan to go down the list one by one,
And then ask.
and then we can take it to the public and make a motion to approve or not.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to make some general comments. I want to thank the staff and Bruce and everyone that I had the opportunity to meet with over the last couple of weeks. I appreciate you guys sending those memos and answering the questions that I had. So again, thank you, Bruce, for the meeting this morning, talking about some of the public work projects in my district, and then other issues amongst alleys, which hopefully we'll be able to get resolved in the coming weeks. Not necessarily part of the budget, but as a discussion as we move forward. So I want to thank all of you for helping me understand some of the appropriations and the projects happening in District 1. So thank you.
Member Brand, followed by Member Quintero.
So we can still make motions right now, right? Okay. The question, the city manager, does the city employ an arborist now to advise us on our trees?
Yes, we have an arborist.
Okay,
It's
so-
an outside consultant, but yes.
Okay, is there a budgeted amount on how much?
It comes out of our tree trimming budget generally. It's not a specific set aside and as a line
If you
item.
could just, again, request, just give me a little more details. But I know this goes back to the Water Conservation Act that Paul and I did a few years ago, that we wanted, to identify the infrastructure for the landscape irrigation systems for parks, as well as identifying the health of the trees too. So
Okay.
right. Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we set aside $500,000 from the Water Enterprise Department to be used citywide in a future program, low interest rate loan program for people impacted by, among other things, the galvanized pipe issue that I mentioned before. And I'll come out with an amendment in the Water Conservation Act that'll detail out how this applies. But that's a motion to set aside $500,000 from the Water Enterprise Fund for a future low interest rate loan program for homeowners.
I'll second it.
And that's what I have for right now. Thank you.
You're welcome. Member Quintero?
Thank you, Mr. President. City Manager,
Clarification, Councilmember Brand, your original motion was 250. Are you just increasing that to 500, or is it just,
No, this is a separate fund. The first one was a rebate program.
so total 750?
Total 750. Yeah, this is for low interest rate loans. Thank you.
Member Quintero?
City Manager, I've got a question. The first motion, which was made by Councilmember Brandow, was $150 million for the neighborhood streets
I think
program.
it was $1 million, not $150 million.
$1,050,000.
$1,050,000.
Well, we can dream. No, the question I have is, and then on the second one, Councilmember Brand identified where the money would be coming from. Should we identify?
Yeah, not for the streets. Yeah, just for the water, not for the streets.
No, that's what I was going to ask.
Yes.
That was my follow-up
Oh,
question.
yes.
For the streets program that Councilmember Brandow asked for the money to be set aside for that, for the streets program. As we make the motion, should we identify where the money's coming from? Or is that, we're going to leave that up to you, or you're going to have to defund something else?
I think in previous council motions, some have identified, others haven't, and you've left it up to the administration to come back and see whether or not that's feasible
Okay,
within the existing, appropriations and/or estimates.
okay, I got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Member Baines. It's your opportunity if you wanted to make some opening comments.
Council President, can I respond to Councilman Quintero a little bit?
Of course, the floor is yours.
Councilman Quintero, I love your question, but I didn't want the public to think that I had not been in discussions with them and talking about how that gets paid for. I wasn't just willy-nilly throwing that out there. So we talked a little bit about an estimated carryover, and if the estimated carryover is greater, locating the money there. So estimated carryover. So I just wanted, because your question,
Thank you.
yeah,
No,
I wanted you to know that I had been talking with them about where to find that money. So
Yeah, because I didn't know anybody named Willy Nilly. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Council President. So, Council President, I'm going to make a larger motion that's going to include a few of the other requests. I've been talking with the city manager, and I think we can kind of wrap up several requests in a single motion, if that's okay, with your indulgence, of course.
Yes, proceed.
So I'm gonna ask that we I'm gonna make a motion that's going to be $975,000, and it's going to include $70,000 for Pinedale staffing, so that will take care of motion 7. It's going to include $200,000 for BMX Park, Southwest Fresno, $50,000 for staffing at Mariella Brown for the CBO transition, $55,000 for Melody Park, $25,000 for the Tower substation, $25,000 for Stone Soup satellite station, and $100,000 for an update in the Tower specific plan.
I'll second that.
Thank you. 50,000.
50.
But that would be an existing park.
And I'm sorry, I forgot the most important part of it. And $450,000 for the tier 1 deferred maintenance identified by the city manager's office.
That my second will include that.
Okay.
Member Soria?
Thank you, Council President. I wanted to make a couple motions and thank my colleague for including the Tower District specific plan in terms of the update. I know that Jennifer had provided some information to us, and that hadn't been updated since 91, so I'm excited to see that there's an opportunity there to update. So I wanted to make a motion to create a new position within the city clerk's office to establish and maintain a records management program for an annual funding of $50,000, but for this next fiscal year we need $37,000 so that someone can start in October. And I guess that will be my motion. Then we can have a further discussion about why we need it.
Okay. For the record, I'll second it for discussion purposes. Member Olivier.
I'm not done. Can I make?
Pardon me. Trying to make up for lost time.
Sorry. Then, in looking at the budget, I also wanted to make a motion to allocate an additional 9100, which is 10% for additional outreach efforts for the community. I know this has been an issue that I've been talking about when we're doing outreach, not only utilizing Fresno B, but trying to expand on that. I know that right now we've allocated about 91,000, so I'd like to see the increase to be 100,200, which is only 10%, 9,100,000 to do additional citywide outreach.
Any others?
Okay, so just do the motions, all of them?
A second by Member Baines.
Okay. And then lastly, I wanted to make a motion to allocate $15,000 to fund the City of Fresno Sister City activities. As you guys know, our programs have been growing. We have no funding right now, and I think that it would be important to fund up to $3,000 per city, and that be made available in the city general purpose budget. So that would be a total of $15,000 for this next fiscal year.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second by Member Brand.
Those are all my motions for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Member Olivier.
Thank you. I wanted to address a couple of motions. City Manager, I see that on the deferred items package that you sent out, and Member Baines just made a motion to do $450 toward the Tier 1 repairs. You need $1.3 million just for Tier 1. So then there's the Tier 2, and then you've provided the council with a list of unfunded deferred maintenance items. These are unfunded in this budget that we're doing. So if we wanted any of these to be funded, we would have to make a motion, and then that motion would have to be approved by the council.
And you would have to find almost $10 million.
Right, but this could be an a la carte menu, right? If I wanted to. Okay, I have a question for you. Let me, I'll make a couple of motions, and we'll see what council thinks. And on the list, you mentioned restroom doors at Manchester. Is that the transit center?
No, that would be at the park, at the flood control.
Manchester Park?
Yes.
Okay. No, I know that vagrants have really done a number on those doors, and that it's here. Let me go ahead, and I would like to make a motion to replace the restroom doors at Manchester Park, $5,000.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second by Member
Thank you.
Brand.
Would like to make a motion, $40,000 for at Lafayette Park, including lighting controls, softball reconditioning, resurfacing the tennis and basketball courts. That's $40,000.
For Lafayette Park?
Lafayette Park.
Okay, there's a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Member Brand.
And then the third one, this is for programming at Lafayette Park through The Way Ministries. They have requested an amount, but I think that fair for this year is $6,000 to fund programming. I do have extensive documentation. The folks at The Way have been doing a great job running programming at Lafayette Park. They are providing service to a disadvantaged neighborhood, and this programming would be for adults, an exercise program, and Pastor Aputa and his wife, Dr. Francine Aputa, have done a fantastic job out there. They only come to me when they need something that would actually improve the facility. Their wish list is a lot longer out at Lafayette, and unfortunately, I think with scarce resources, we're not going to be able to do what city manager and actually what the Way Ministries are recommending. So that's why we're just going to, the motion that I made was for the $40,000. They have a lot of wish list for programming help as well. But I'd like to make a motion for $6,000 for programming through the Way Ministries at Lafayette Park.
Okay, folks, we have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Member Brand.
That's all I have. Thank you, Council
Thank
President.
you very much. The screen is clear. So, City Attorney, should we start with item 1?
I would start with item 1, call to motion, take it out to the public, then bring it back to the dais.
Okay, thank you. On item 1, it's carry over $100,000 GCP for industrial compatibility study to be placed in DARM. Motion was by Baines, seconded by Soria. Anyone in the public wish to comment on item 1, please come up and give us your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes. I see none. We'll bring it back here.
I have a question on that motion. Because when I met with Jane, she had already mentioned that that was included within the budget. If I'm not mistaken, if we look at the Enterprise Zone Fund, you had mentioned that the $1,038,000 already included that $100,000, because I asked you for a breakdown. So is this in addition to, Oliver, maybe you could also...
No, this is money that was set aside by motion last year in the general fund. That you're referring to was the EDC. That was something else. This is the industrial compatibility study, and that was by motion last year.
But when I met with you, because I took notes in terms of the breakdown of what you said would be funded, you mentioned that there was already $100,000 allocated. Those are from my notes from our meeting. So,
can I clarify?
Okay.
I think what we were talking about is we needed to carry over the funding from last year because we didn't get the work done, so we asked Councilmember Baines to make that motion. Our intent is to pay that $100,000 out of that enterprise zone line item.
Okay,
so it's not an additional, it would be $100,000 total.
Okay, so that's what I was asking, because when I met with you guys, they had said that it was already...
I wasn't in the meeting, but I know what we said on the dais. Renee, is that correct? Yes.
Okay, so it's already within that $1 million, the $100,000 is going to be used from there.
Correct. The $100,000. So when we come back, but it's not currently budgeted.
Okay.
So when we come back with the budget documents, it will show that $100,000 coming out of that funding source.
Okay. That was my question, because when we had met that...
I know it's a little confusing.
Okay, thank you.
So we need a vote on that, Georgianne, to include in the current budget. I heard a yeah. Okay, good.
So then I think Oliver would have to clarify the motion that he made, because the motion that he made just a few minutes ago included the study, right, Oliver?
So you're suggesting he delete that from his motion?
Well, I don't know. That's what I want him to clarify.
Because it's already included in the budget.
I am going to clarify it in just a moment.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you allow me about 30 seconds, I will do a couple quick calculations here and come back with an amendment.
I'll start the
Don't put me on the timer, though.
Did you want to comment now, Member Baines? It's on the floor. Item 1's on the floor now, if you wish to clarify that. Item 1 is to carry over $100,000 for the GCP study. Okay, from what I understand, Member Baines, it's already included in a budget, but to get it into the current budget, we need to approve it today. But the funding is present, ready to be activated once it's included in the current budget, perhaps.
Councilmember Baines, was the industrial compatibility study, it was not included in your $975,000 motion, was it?
It was not.
Okay, so yes, so we do need a vote on this so that we can go ahead and get it into the budget under the enterprise zone line item. So we do need a vote on
right
this.
Now?
Well, whenever you are voting, not right this second.
Can we just vote on it right
today.
now, Council President?
Sure, of course. I was planning to vote on each item.
I've already made the motion, and Councilmember Sawyer made the second. So,
okay. Any other comments? Screen is clear. We'll have a vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. Thank you. Number 2 is under finance. Include sufficient funds for a full fiscal year of central printing operations and explore moving a staff member under city clerk. Member Soria motioned, and it was seconded by me. It said CP, so it kind of threw me off. It didn't have my initials.
Okay, all right.
Okay, let me take it off the public. Anyone in the public wish to discuss this item, please come forward. Seeing none, we're back to the dais. Member Brandow. You're up.
I'm up. So Councilmember Soria made this motion. Would you remind me of what this one's about before I vote on it?
This was the motion to make sure that in the budget we are providing funds for the fiscal year for our print shop so that we can maintain what we have.
Excuse me, as a point of clarification, the funding for the print shop, the staffing is funded for 3 months, and then the balance of the 9 months is funded in O&M. So there is sufficient staffing. If the outsourcing does not take place, the funding is already in the budget. We can just move it up into personnel.
So my motion, though, was to make sure that we keep status quo. So I understand that. So the funding is there. So I want to make sure that we keep status quo. I know that there was a discussion about doing an RFP. If you guys want to go to RFP and then bring it back later to us, then that's fine. But I want to keep status quo. The funding is there. And that's what was my motion.
So you would like all the funding for the personnel piece
Yes.
of it to be there? Okay.
That was my motion.
So,
It's not allocated if you look at the line item budget, it's not allocated within personnel. So I want to keep a status quo budget for our print shop. If you guys decide to go out to RFP, which I think was the discussion, then they can go off to RFP and then they can come back and decide to change it. However, at this time, I would like to go back to status quo. The money is there.
Okay. Anybody have any more questions?
Well,
Member Brandow?
I've still got a question. So because I want to be clear, are we changing? So if I hear Councilmember Soria's direction correctly, we're just going to fund the department status quo. If you choose to go out to RFP, that will impact that department at that point. And are you okay with that?
There's no changes to the dollar amount in the budget. It's just the line items that it's in, and so we're not adding dollars to the budget. We're just reallocating distributing between the accounts. That's all.
Yeah. We're just moving it from one line item to another.
Just moving it from one line item to the. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
You don't need the
I'm good now.
council to.
I got clarification now.
Right. I mean, you can just do that administratively without us voting on it, right?
We do need a vote, right?
We don't need a
Correct.
vote.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Hold on.
Right now, as I understand, the proposed budget has this funding under outside contract costs as opposed to personnel costs. Right. If you want to keep it in personnel
My
costs, then there
motion would be
motion.
status
Do we
quo
need a
budget,
vote?
move it to personnel, and then you guys can come back to RFP and change it if you want.
Okay.
Councilmember Olivier has a good question. Does this require
Do
a
we
vote?
have to vote?
Is there some problem
We
with
just make
voting,
a
folks?
change.
Or can
We
the
need to-
city manager just do this?
Well, the city manager can do it, but if the council is giving direction to put it under personnel, then they can vote on
Will
it.
you do it?
It's take a vote, see if there's a support. And from us, it's not an issue, quite honestly.
You want to vote on
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Thank you. Item 3 under Parks, allocate $70,000 to staff Pinedale Community Center.
Oh, Council President, sorry, I wasn't clear when I punched in earlier. That one is now included in what Councilman Baines had made a motion for, so I'm withdrawing that individual motion.
Very good. Thank you.
And Council President, can I clarify my motion really
Yes,
quickly? Because I
absolutely.
need to take something out and put something in. So I need to withdraw the $100,000 for the tower specific plan, and I need to include the Fresno Historical Society for $48,000 and the Fresno Fair for $25,000. Yes, 48 and 25.
Do we have the item number on that? Anybody? No?
So we can withdraw Councilmember Quintero's motions. Looks like 11 and 12, or 12 and 13, I believe it is. Right.
So
Okay.
motions 12 and 13 have been withdrawn? Oh, right. Okay, but the individual motions have been withdrawn. Okay, thank you.
Well, let's, can we, at this time, go through that so we'll know exactly which ones are going to be withdrawn and folded into your fund proposal?
Yes.
So we have item 3. For me, it would be items 7 and 9.
Right.
Are there others that I'm, 12 and 13?
12 and 13, did we take out the,
Number 8? Okay. Right, 8 become, all these become part of the one motion by Member Baines. Anything else that we see there?
yeah, we have did we pull
3?
out number 8?
So I have 3, 7, 8, 9,
12 and 13.
12, and 13.
And Council President, while we're withdrawing those previous motions to clear up your agenda, I'm going to withdraw number 4, the design and engineering motion.
Okay, and when we say withdraw, that's just because it's going to be folded into...
No, not that one. That one's just a withdrawal to clear up your agenda.
Thank you very much. So we'll delete item 4. Any others that we want to withdraw or address at this moment? I think that's it. Very good. So then that will move us on to item 5, I believe. Since 3 and 4 are withdrawn. 1 and 2 are approved, 3 and 4 withdrawn, and number 5. That was a motion to include $14,000 to expand youth lifeguard program to west of Highway 99. Motion by Sawyer, second by Baines. Member Baines?
Thank you. I was just clarifying my motion, but we've cleared it all up. So I think the total amount for the motion moves to $948,000.
Very good. Okay, on item 5, we have a motion and a second. Screen is clear. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry. We'll take it out to the public. Thank you. Anyone in the public wish to address this item, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Now on to item 6. To promote and reclassify parks recreation supervisors to manager/management, member by Baines, seconded by Member Quintero. Anyone in the public wish to address this issue, please come forward. Seeing none, back to the dais. Screen is clear. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes 6-1 with Member Olivier voting no. 7, 8, 9 are resolved. That takes us to item 10. Bless you. Convention Center, $100,000 aside for a RFP for a consultant for naming rights for the Convention Center. Funding to be the first year and from the carryover budget. Member by Baines, Member Brand made that motion, seconded by Member Brandow. Anyone in the public wish to address the Convention Center item? Seeing none, we'll take it to the dais. Member Baines? And Member Sawyer will be next.
Well, you know what, Council President, there's going to be one more motion I need to make at the end, so I forgot one motion that I needed to make. So we can continue with the voting, and I'll make it at the end.
Okay, Member Sawyer.
So if I recall correctly, and maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, was the motion to make sure that these 100,000 is included within their existing budget, so no extra monies, correct? Okay, that's the only
correct.
way that I will support it. Otherwise, I would. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, screen is clear. Any other comments? We'll take it to the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes 7-0. Item 11 is the GCP. Did we discuss that already? City Attorney, do you recall? The 50,000? That's your EDC? That'd be item 11.
Earlier, so we're ready to vote on that.
Okay. We'll take it out to the public. Anyone in the public wish to discuss this item, please come forward.
Excuse me, on just a point of clarification on item number 11. The only clarification that was made earlier was that we would add 50,000 to the current 50,000 in EDC funding to implement the strategic plan. However, we have not taken a vote on that yet.
Yeah. We're going to take a vote on it right now, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
We ready? All right. Any other comments? Member Brand?
Just to refresh my memory, when I started, didn't we allocate about $500,000 back 10 years ago, 8, 9 years for the EDC, historically?
About 450,000.
And we, as my recollection, we started in 2009 and 10. We just eventually cut it down to nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So currently it's 50,000. This would make it 100,000.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
But as I shared with Councilmember Brandow, the EDC is in the process of finalizing their FY17 strategic plan, which has supposed to have specific outcomes. And so this $50,000 would be used to target some of those opportunities within the city of Fresno that would be identified in that specific that strategic plan.
Okay, is that everyone satisfied? Okay, well, all those in favor? Opposed? That passes 7-0. That takes us to item 14, DPU. As I understand, this is a separate motion by Member Brand. Set aside $250,000 for citywide rebates for homeowners impacted by corroded pipes for 1989 to 1999 from Water Enterprise Funds. Seconded by me. All right. Anyone in the public wish to discuss this item, please come forward. Seeing none. Up to the dais. Screen is clear. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes 7-0. Item 14 we just finished, so we're moving on to item 15, Parks.
And Council President, that's my motion. And let me, for some reason, it didn't get quite clarified. I want to move the SPCA contract out of the Parks budget and into the general services.
General city purpose?
General city purposes, yeah.
That's okay. And a further point of clarification, did you want that done in this upcoming fiscal year,
Yes.
17? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And for fiscal year 17 and forward.
And just because I wasn't here and I missed it, can you tell me why?
Because the SPCA doesn't belong in the Parks budget.
It just artificially inflates the parks budget by about $3-4 million.
Okay. SPCA is not a park. So.
Member Soria is your second stand. Thank you very much. Screen is clear. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes.
And sorry, to go back to that item.
Let me
As
just
part
finish
of-
the vote. 7-0, it passes. Member Soria.
As part of that item, I don't know if it was in that item, I don't see the information. We had talked about looking at the contract and making sure that we allocate specifically funds for the outreach component because there's nothing in the agreement. So should we do that as part of the budget or do we bring it back?
The conversation I recall is that I would schedule a time in where you and I can meet with the executive director, where she could provide you some information as to what their outreach program is currently, and if there was a desire to amend the agreement, then we would come back with amendment after that discussion and potentially even a workshop with council.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we'll open up for any other new motions. Member Baines?
Council President, I want to make a motion that we put the RFP paratransit contract due to expire in February 2017 out to bid and allow all other respondents to reply.
I'll second that motion.
We want to put the paratransit contract out to bid. It's a revenue neutral item, but their contract's up in 2017.
Okay, we have a motion by Member Baines, seconded by me. Anyone in the public wish to address this item? Good morning, sir. Thanks for being so patient.
Sure, nothing else to do this morning. Council members, Rick Stites, President, Business Agent of ATU. ATU is in favor of this motion with one issue, is that the city would also be allowed to bid on this service. And would hope that would be included in the motion.
Member Baines?
I don't have any issue with that. City Manager, can we include that as part of the ability? Well, I think we can. So I'll make that a part of the motion.
Okay.
To allow the city to be a respondent.
Do we need to vote on that now, City Attorney?
I think we're still accumulating motions, and then you're going to go through and vote on each one.
Okay.
But you can choose to vote on it now if you want to.
Well, since we're discussing it, we'll go ahead and move forward with it. We've taken it out to the public. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes 7-0.
It's not a monetary.
Okay, does that put us back to the new motions for today? And does someone have a list?
New motion.
Oh, excuse me. Member Soria? New motion?
So I wanted to make a motion to allocate $100,000 for staffing and required notices to update the Tower District specific plan.
Okay. Motion by Soria, seconded by Member Baines. Anyone in the public wish to address this item, please come forward. Seeing none, is there discussion from the dais? Oh, okay, very good. Thank you for being patient today as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Caparillo. I'd like to just speak in favor of the allocation of $100,000 to update this Tower District specific plan. It's been in effect for approximately 25 years, and it's in need of updating just because of changes in circumstances in the neighborhood. So we would appreciate a favorable vote on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bruce. Member Olivier.
Thank you, Council President. Just for the sake of discussion, I see that on the list of deferred maintenance, there's something that the firefighters have been asking me for a while. They want $40,000 to put a fence around Fire Station 4, which is located at Tulare and First. They're having a problem with vagrants leaving needles. We've had members of our firefighters who've been stuck by these needles when they're picking them up. The vagrants defecate on the fire station. The smell of urine is pungent within Fire Station 4. I have had to tell them on a number of occasions over the past 3 years that the city doesn't have the money to put up a proper fence around Fire Station 4. That's something that I would like to prioritize when it comes to, but I mean, obviously what we do as policymakers and what the administration does, everything we do is about priorities. I'm wondering, what does the taxpayer get for $100,000? I'm not trying to be snarky or mean. I was just wondering, sell me on this. What's the value to the taxpayer for $100,000?
Well, that's why it's in Tier 2. Fire Station 3, 4, and 11 are security fences. And it's the cost of providing security fences at those 3 stations. Conversely, repairing the plumbing, and not so much the plumbing, but the interior of Fire Station 13, and from my understanding from the chief, has holes in the walls and some other things. That's why you see at $50,000. That's a higher priority for Station 13 than to put fences around Stations 3, 4, and 11.
I don't know what we get for $100,000. I'm just asking. Maybe somebody could tell me what.
In terms of the tower, you're talking about the tower district. I was confused.
Yes.
I wasn't
No, the
sure what your
specific
question,
plan.
because he was talking about something else.
How did that, yeah, where did the fire conversation come in on that?
No, I'm saying that I think for me, protecting the firefighters would be more of a benefit to the taxpayer than this. But I want to be sold on it. So I would like someone to tell me what the taxpayer gets for $100,000.
Well, there's a need. This tower district specific plan, which you represent, I think a small portion of the tower district, needs to be refreshed. It hasn't been since 1991. Given that we've approved new general plans, we've done the citywide new zoning update, we're anticipating, especially in that area, we want to see new infill growth, and so we're wanting to make sure that our specific plan is up to date and that we're able to bring forth a plan that gets community input as to what else they want to see. There's been, kind of changes happening, so we believe that it's important in terms of planning and trying to lure other businesses to come into the neighborhood of the Tower District. And it's not just Olive. There's a whole area within that community that incorporates entire neighborhood, and so I think that it needs to be updated. We've met with a number of community residents that feel that this will help also the neighborhood.
Member Brandow.
Okay. I don't see Jennifer. I don't know if Jennifer's not in the room. Georgianne, you might have to jump in here. Now, this going to trip. This could be a bigger discussion than people were prepared to have. But what is the pecking order of our specific plans now? There's dozens of them. It seems like there's probably only 4 or 5, but it seems like there's dozens of them. What's going on with this?
I believe the Southwest plan was the first one that is nearing completion.
Yeah, we are probably. I'll just jump in on that one, Councilmember Brandow. We are probably a couple of months away from bringing a preferred alternative to council by August.
A what?
The preferred alternative.
What is that? Oh, for the Southwest.
For the Southwest plan.
Yeah. Oh,
correct.
Shoot.
Okay.
Well, with your omnibus thing and all this other stuff you bouncing around today, okay.
So Southwest was first. Southeast, Councilmember Quintero's district, was second in line, and I believe that we are just, and I hope if Jennifer's hearing, I think that we are at the process of the consultant helping to narrow down the scope for the specific plan. Does that sound right, Sal? We still have yet to fund the actual work of the plan itself, which, as you know, is pretty pricey.
So Southwest is getting close to done. We're going to hear an alternate here in a couple months. Southeast in Councilman Quintero's district was
the next in line.
Is next in line. Where is that one at?
I'm pretty sure the consultant was engaged to prepare the scope for the specific plan. That's the first step.
So the specific plan itself is not being worked on yet. It's the consultant getting us ready for that study.
I believe that's accurate.
Okay.
And if anybody sees Jennifer
Here she
walking
is.
in
She's
behind,
coming
thank you, Jesus.
hastily toward the
I was
podium.
tap dancing like crazy on that one. Did you hear me bellowing over the speaker?
Somebody else did, but thank you.
Ms. White, thanks for stretching that out.
Georgianne, you did great, by the way.
Good morning.
I'd
Could you
give you a
repeat
C.
the question for me?
Member Brandow, if you could.
Yeah.
Okay. So the general plan is the guiding policy document. No.
Funding. So
Yeah.
Southwest is almost done.
Okay.
Then was district. Where are we in the district in the Southeast?
I need the order of the plans.
Oh, you want that too? Okay.
The order of the plans and kind of like one sentence on where they're at in the process.
Okay. So Southwest specific plan, we are really getting to a preferred alternative, which should be coming to you this summer for determination as to your selection. The City Council, are you going to accept the community's recommendation on the preferred alternative and then send it to into the CEQA process. So then we'll environmentally clear that. We anticipate bringing that, the final environmentally cleared document back to the City Council next spring is our hope, winter, spring, depending on how long the CEQA process takes. Southeast Specific Plan, additional funds were allocated in the beginning July 1 for CDBG to actually start and complete the Southeast Specific Plan. My anticipation is that'll take about the same amount of time, about 18 months to 2 years is about how long it takes on a specific plan. So that's been funded for next year. Our anticipation is being able to do a market study for the west area to then more formalize exactly what we want to do. Do we want to just do design guidelines for the west area? Do we want to do a full-on specific plan? I believe Council Member Soria had asked how much a specific plan costs, and it's right now a full specific plan is running about $250 an acre. You've got probably
is that one
somewhere between 6,500 and 7,000 acres just in the north area of the west of 99, and so you're looking at well over $1 million just for that north area.
What are we calling that plan?
I don't think it's been named. I believe your preferred name is River West.
That's subject to my veto
with a better name
because it incorporates most of my district.
We need to call it. Will you have a name for it?
I think we need a brainstorm and
a brainstorm. We need another study. Sal, we need another study. Okay. Yeah, yours is almost done, and yours, you guys thumbs up. Okay, can we just, for the sake of, so we name a name, let's just call it the west area.
West area, and it's the north portion of the west area. So it's in growth area 1.
Okay. Yeah, it's growth area. It's where we're going to grow next. So that plan, this is the one I'm familiar with.
That would be immediately following the Southeast, the Roosevelt plan. So the very next one that we need to be teed up and ready to go, beginning in July of 2017, would be that west area.
Fantastic. Okay. And how much money do we have allocated for that plan?
Currently, you have $50,000. And that will cover really a market demand study, kind of to determine what's the best use, where do we want to utilize those funds the best. Because specific plans are so expensive, I really think that it's going to be, to serve us better, to do a little bit of pre-work ahead of time to determine how do we want to use those dollars to make sure that we maximize that resource and ensure that we have the right land uses when we're completed.
Okay. So that is before, so that's the order of priority. And then do we have any after that?
So I think it was 2 weeks ago, the City Council approved a resolution to LAFCO that listed out that order of those specific plans, and I'm probably going to need a little bit of assistance. But the order was Southwest, the Roosevelt, the west area on growth area 1. I believe the next was to go back and refresh the southeast growth area, and then Sega, yeah,
okay.
To refresh that one. And then to go to west area south, but
okay.
Those two,
yeah,
those
so
last
it's even
two,
confusing, right? Even
I have it's written on that PowerPoint that we did. I don't know if it's something we could pull up pretty quickly. I don't have it in my brain. I apologize.
Jennifer, do we have any money set aside for project number 4 and project number 5, SEDA, and then your southeast?
No funds in this current budget.
Okay. And what about the downtown specific plan? Is that one of these?
That is just about complete. There is no new funding set aside in next year's budget for that. It has been essentially, we will be releasing the public draft later this summer, and we'll come back to you. All the environmental clearance has been completed. That started several years ago and then was moved down in the priority list to have the general plan come first.
Okay. And then I'm going to ask Georgiana a question, too.
Yeah. It's technical on me.
Georgiana, does your staff have the bandwidth to tackle all these?
Well, it's actually Jennifer's staff, and I know that we have struggled to get done what we've gotten done. Fortunately, Councilmember Baines' staff has done a tremendous amount of work directly on the specific plan for Southwest, but we're pretty behind schedule on what we had committed to Councilmember Quintero several years ago. Mm-hmm. And then, so I guess the concern is when we would actually be able to get to the work, because the funding, putting funding aside is one thing, but when you don't have the staff to be able to implement the work and do all the background, Jennifer, step in if I'm misspeaking, the money just stays there. It doesn't get spent, which is what has happened in the past with both Councilmember Quintero and with funding for the Northwest Area Plan.
All right. See, now, and Councilmember Soria, I have nothing against the tower-specific plan, but it just seems like, and by the way, you were a part of this, the west area, our next growth area, the city of Fresno, is third in priority, and it's getting $50,000 spent on it. And today we want to add another specific plan and drop $100,000 on it.
So it's not an entire new specific plan.
Right.
So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, because you said that there's a distinction between a refresh and doing. So we already have an existing plan. We want to do a refresh of it. I think what we are looking at is really looking to help expedite development applications where there's inconsistencies in terms of looking between the new general plan and also the specific plan. I think that's for us will be helpful. And so I think in the report that you provided, you said that there is a difference in terms of doing a complete specific plan versus doing a refresh. What we envision is using existing staff in the community group and putting together back the community group to go back and look at how we just do a refresh.
So depending on what it is that you're trying to accomplish, the cost can vary widely. So I really can't give you an estimate as to how much that would cost to touch up the existing plan. And it's really dependent upon the scope. Do you want to look at land use? Do you want to look at development standards? Do you want to look at design guidelines? Do you want to look at the transportation component? What piece of that overall specific plan? It's nearly 1,900 acres. To do the entire specific plan was nearly $500,000 to completely redo it. If you want any of the updates to the plan environmentally clear, there's an additional cost to that. I don't know if $100,000 would do what you want to do or not, and it was not in our program of activities for this next year. We are very grateful that we now have fully staffed our planners in that particular division as of this week. We hired a new planner and who came on board 2 weeks ago, one that's coming on board this week.
So what about the staff that staffs our Tower District design?
They are in current planning, so their role is to process entitlement applications, not to look at, not that we can't assign additional projects, but their role is to process entitlement applications when they come in the door. And if we're trying to streamline the applications to ensure that we're processing those as quickly as possible, if we take them off of that task and assign them to a new task, it does have an impact on our ability to process applications. So we would be happy to look at and evaluate what is it that you're trying to accomplish, whether or not that could be accomplished with the resources that we have this year, or whether or not that should be programmed in for, as we talked about for West area beginning July of 2017, whether or not it makes more sense to have it scoped out and programmed and ready to go July of 2017.
Okay, thank you. I'd still like to continue with my motion.
So, and this is, really nothing against the tower. The tower probably, our whole city needs a lot of focus on it. But I don't think I can support spending $100,000 on the tower specific plan when it's not next in the order, and when we've done a lot of work to get our next building construction area in the city of Fresno starting to get it queued up for its own specific plan. So in order, we had southwest, southeast, now west area. These are all areas of growth. And and last week, I came that close to making a motion for $250,000 to fund this specific plan, and had a conversation with the administration about it last night. And if we're just going to go throw $100,000 at the tower, then I might as well just make that motion then. So I can't be supportive of that plan today to move it into queue in front of other plans that have been voted on and passed by the council. Now, I think we should hear about it. I should hear more about it. I should hear this discussion that you're having with Jennifer. Maybe we need a workshop in a couple weeks. But I don't think right now in the middle of budget, I'm not ready to support it today. So that will be my 2 cents.
Member Quintero.
Okay, Councilmember Soria and Councilmember Brand, just want to touch a little bit on the specific plans that you've been talking about. And the one that we have in Southeast is called the Roosevelt Community Specific Plan, named after the high school when it was first put together. One of the things that may give you a comfort level in terms of just staying up with the different changes, ordinances within the planning department is that we've had a committee of citizens that's part of that specific plan committee for Roosevelt. And what they do is there's one person from planning committee, planning department assigned to that group. And as a new project comes in, and yours is probably one of the busier districts for new projects, let's say a shopping center, that's one of the first stops that developer has to make, is to that committee. And then the planning, the person from planning then briefs the committee saying, look, these are the new ordinances, blah, 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 this is what you may want to look out for. So when that is presented to that committee can say, well, it backs up to a neighborhood and you've got too much lighting going into the backyard. So it gives you those protections already, and keeps you somewhat current with what's going on until a plan is actually adopted and how it fits in. But it gives you those protections and comfort, and that's what's helped us as ongoing committee meetings like that. Then from there it goes. Does it go to HCDC and then Planning Commission for approval? It goes through that process, but that's one of the first stops that it makes is to your committee, and you appoint those committee members. But it keeps that going for you until the plan, they're able to put a specific plan together for you. But it gives you a lot of good protections, I'll tell you that.
I appreciate that, Councilman Quintero.
Yeah.
Sounds like some good wisdom there.
Well, you may want to get together with Jennifer and say, how do we put a committee like that together?
Yeah, we've got to.
And we have and it's like 5 to 7 member committee, and they meet as needed. They do not meet every week. They don't meet once a month. They meet as needed. So and then you'll get the email that goes out to your committee members to let you know what's going on in your district as well. It's very helpful. So, okay, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Member Brand.
A lot of this stuff I was going to say has been articulated by Member Brandel, and I think we all appreciate for all these districts, the Tower, the Roosevelt Plan, Go Riders, And the Southwest plan, I guess, is the only one really that's nearing completion. What I think we need to do citywide is we need to identify a master plan, how we're going to do this, and how we're going to sequence the different specific plans with a specific budget allocated over a multi-year period of time. Because this, correct me if I'm wrong, this is going to be $2-3 million, right? It's based on the price per acre. I know we had that discussion a couple of weeks ago about the SEDA area, and they want a specific plan. We've identified our willingness to do that. And can you come up for a second, Jennifer? What was the cost on the SEDA area to do a specific plan?
So there was a specific plan that was completed a number of years ago. It is all but environmentally cleared. So depending on the price that, if we're still comfortable with the land uses, with the transportation element, with all of the elements, and it fits into the general plan because we brought it as part of the general plan, it would really be very dependent on the CEQA analysis and what that cost would be. I would, hesitantly guess that it could be as much as half of a full planning, a full specific plan, which would be anywhere from $100 to $150 an acre for the CEQA analysis. So that tends to be the largest component of the cost of any kind of planning activity. And it's almost equivalent in size and sometimes larger in the document size.
It's 9,000 acres, I think.
It's a significant number of acres, and so I would, hesitantly say $100 an acre would be on the low end.
That's almost $1 million. Yeah.
Right, just to get the existing plan environmentally cleared, but we're looking at that in the beginning in 2019, I believe.
Yeah, and since we've changed the general plan, the development code, all the zoning, so really every area in the city, my Woodward Park area, the Bullard plan, the growth areas, southeast, I think we need to have a workshop, as Steve has mentioned, and we need to outline and prioritize what is the sequence for implementing these different plans and actually set aside money over a multi-year period of time, or at least make the plan of a budget. And then we can identify wherever and I know the Tower District is on that has needs too, but wherever it falls within that list, and we just take them one by one, given our resources, and then, it's probably talking, 4 or 5 years?
Absolutely. It might be longer because it takes about 1.5 to 2 years for a specific plan, and even if they overlap a little bit, we have a large number of specific plans currently, and if our intent is to bring them all current with the general plan, and that's typically what happens in between general plans is you clean up the specific plan and then move on. So it could take as many as 6 to 8 years to complete them all.
So from a staff point of view, you said it's 18 to 24 months to do a complete, right?
Right.
So there's a couple ways to do it. You could do it that way, or you could actually overlap and maybe make it a little bit longer, but start one out earlier, so you'd maybe be doing two at once. Have that been done? We just simply take the staff and divide it, take a little bit longer?
Right. That is definitely an option for spreading it out to ensure that we have good oversight on the plan.
So anyway, I think we need to do that as a city to identify how we want to do this, identify the cost, identify the priorities and the sequencing, and do it right. Okay, thank you.
Member Baines.
Thanks, Council President. And I want to wholeheartedly agree with Councilmember Brand a moment ago when he said we do need a thought out way that, a planned out way that we actually fund our planning processes. I think you're absolutely right. I think we've been, probably like most cities, kind of going by the seat of our pants with some of this planning. We've, recently realized the importance of planning and the need to update documents, and, really because of the mayor the last 8 years. So now that we realize how important it is, everybody wants to have plans, and it's vitally important. So here are my thoughts. And Jennifer, let me ask a couple questions of you just for a moment. Because what I don't think Councilmember Soria was trying to say was that she believed that her plan should go to the top of the line. I didn't sense that, and I know that was kind of, maybe it came across that way, and but I don't think that that's what she meant. But she's really talking about an update of the plan. Now, your questions to her were good about scope, because we need to know what portion that we're really trying to update the scope of the plan. But at a bare minimum, I think what we should really do is get this plan, get the idea of this plan in the queue. There's some pretty big hurdles that business owners and residents and potential investors face in the Tower District with kind of the way that the plan's set up now. And I think that's the idea of what she's trying to do, is just kind of close some of those gaps. We don't want business owners and investors to be frustrated with trying to do business in our city, and we get criticized for that all the time. And one of the ways we can get around that is through smart planning. But my question is in the sense of, if we're just doing an update, that is not the same level of intensity as starting from scratch on a plan, is it?
Depending on the scope, it could be more intense. Speaking with Director Mosier from Public Works, there are some significant transportation challenges in the Tower District specific plan that could, depending on if that was the scope that we looked at, could actually cause it to be more intense in some ways. But one of the things that I would offer, while it's not necessarily budgeted this year, but what we could do is take the time this year to evaluate where those conflicts are, specifically with the Tower District specific plan, the development code, and the general plan, and sit down and identify those areas of conflict, and then work on those over time. Rather than just saying we're going to do a refresh. And then at the end of that evaluation, if we determine, and that would be done in cooperation with the Tower District specific plan committee, the District 1 implementation committee, we can sit down and evaluate those and say, gosh, here are the places that we really need a consultant to come in and help with us, or we're willing to take the time at our regular monthly meetings to work through these and make a recommendation back to City Council. It may take a little more time, as Councilmember Brand suggested, but may not cost as much money.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to offer to Councilmember Soria too, is I think the outcome of what she's trying to do specifically with the intent of her motion is more in line right now, what you mentioned. The more intensive work, I think we realize, is going to have to be defined by, we need a scope and what have you, but these conflicts that exist with, the general plan, the development code, and what have you, it certainly need to be worked out. So that's kind of my thought, Councilmember Soria. I mean, of course, I seconded it, and I'm supportive of planning, but I understand kind of the idea of you can't jump it to the top of the queue because we don't have the staff work to do that. But in the meantime, I think that you can work with staff and your various committees and kind of sort out those conflicts that exist, and then come back to council with a scope of work and a price tag that kind of, after you've done a little bit of background on that with your committee work, and say, hey, this is the scope of work we like to do. You may realize it may not cost $100,000, it could cost more, it could cost less, but then kind of come back with that. So that would be my recommendation for us. I'm supportive.
So is there a commitment to get the committee going? Because we don't have a committee. We need to revive our committee and have staff do that.
I would say I'll work with the administration, the city manager's office, to define how we would go about identifying those conflicts, identifying a committee to
we could put
conduct
the
and evaluate
together
that review. Absolutely.
Between our council offices.
And I'm thinking that was really what you were trying to get accomplished, is make sure you can sort out those issues for the residents and business owners and potential investors right now.
Yeah, and since we're also talking about, the conflicts, I know that when we were going through the development code, we've, both you and Dan committed to creating those checklists. And I think in terms of expediency and for us being business friendly, I think that we need to get those done for the Tower District area, especially if I'm trying to invite an investor to invest and to come and build something. By us not having those checklists that we committed to a few months ago, it can actually delay some of the, the projects.
And as a matter of fact, Assistant Director Dan Zach has been working with Patience Milrod and others to ensure that we have that checklist in place.
Do we know what
so
the
there is a draft of that checklist. and we're utilizing it to see how it works. And once we've tested it out on a couple of projects, we'll be able to finalize it and bring it back to District 1, District 3 committees to review and evaluate and make sure that that meets their needs.
Do we have a time frame for that?
It's in draft form. I'd like to say that we could have it finalized this summer, but I'd need to check with staff first.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Member Quintero.
And by the way, Jennifer, Israel's done a great job with the committee, and he's very accessible and provides us with the good information that we need. But over the years, he's just done a great job in keeping us informed, and like I said, very accessible. And
thank you. I appreciate
the committee
that.
really likes him. Yeah, he needs a raise.
Okay, Member Soria, did you want to revise or make any updates on your motion as per Member Bain's comments?
So I guess the revision to my motion would be to, after we get our committee together, come back with a scope of work.
Yeah. So I think you would want to say you would want to move to work with staff to get your committee back, describe a scope of work, resolve the conflicts that initially exist, and then come back to council with a recommendation.
That's fine.
So we would delete the financial aspect of it? Okay.
For now.
Member Brandow.
Can we begin on this overarching conversation about how we accomplish what we tell the public we're interested in accomplishing in these plans? I mean, we're going to add, even before that understanding, we're going to add another process today. Now, we've withdrawn the money so I can hypothetically support it. I mean, everybody's up here is going to say they're for good planning, but it's about accomplishing and process, and we're very off on that, it seems like to me, on this stuff. So let's not start talking about it right now, okay? But we want to add another one to the list before having that conversation?
Councilmember Brandow, I think that Councilmember Brand brought up really what we need to do, but I think we should probably talk about how to roll that out. And I'm not exactly sure the budget hearing today is the right venue.
All right, so there's, Councilmember Soria, there's no money attached to this today? So you're basically saying I want to put this in queue or something?
Get back our committee.
Get back the committee and then look at it
and bring back a scope and identify those inconsistencies and fix them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, screen is clear. We've taken this out to the public, so it's time to vote.
So the motion is there's no monies attached to I guess the direction to bring back our committee, create the committee, the council members that represent the Tower District, and then work with staff to bring back at some point.
But all that can be done without a vote, right? Do we have to vote? It seems like you just do it. Just go do it. I'm in it with you. I have the Tower District too. I'll just go do it.
So Bruce, is that something that we can work on? And we don't need a vote?
Okay, very good. So then we'll take that off the schedule.
We understand the intent. And you get your committee convened, then we'll provide some support for your committee and identify some of the things that they probably want to look at.
Okay, so we'll, that motion is off the table. Okay, are there any others to be added at this time today?
I had two motions that I had made. I don't know if we're going to take those.
I made 3.
I know, I'm just asking if there's any more, then we can go to those in more detail.
I wanted to make sure, I don't know if this would be the additional motion. I wanted to see if you guys could answer this. The $47,000 for Quigley Park and the deferred maintenance. I just want to make sure and clarify that that was included as part of the bigger motion.
It is. I clarified that with the city manager.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, let's, as best I can remember, Member Baines had the original fresh motion. And,
all of my motions were parks. Do you want to appropriate those into the the massive thing.
You know, I'm going to shamefully admit that I didn't hear all of your motions, Councilmember.
No, it's okay. They weren't that interesting anyway.
He actually made a motion. He made a motion to replace the doors at Manchester,
Park.
$40,000 for the Lafayette Park, and $6,000 for programming at Lafayette Park were the three that I remember.
That's a total of $51,000.
Were any of those already listed in the deferred maintenance schedule for the city manager's list?
2 of them are.
2 of them are?
I just picked them a la carte.
So I'm just wondering that if city manager, if those can also, if Councilmember Olivier's motions can, since they're already on the deferred items list, if they can be taken care of in that larger.
Well, the Lafayette, one was Lafayette, right?
Yes.
So you had 2 things with Lafayette. You had
No, I had $40,000 from your list off Lafayette.
And then $6,000 for programming.
For programming.
Lafayette.
That's the only thing that's not on your list. The $5,000 for the bathroom doors at Manchester is on your list.
Well, it's on the list of everything else.
Right.
It wasn't on my list of Tier 1, Tier 2.
Right.
So your preference would be to find the $40,000 for Lafayette Park?
Yes.
Okay. We can throw that in as part of the deferred. You have $450,000 right now allocated against $1.3 million of deferred capital. And so I understand the direction is that the $450,000 you would leave up to me to figure out which would be the priority projects. So, for example,
City Manager, Clint, are they, so let me just get clarification, because if they are on the list of deferred maintenance, I can theoretically support including them in there, but are those are Councilmember Olivier's requests part of the deferred maintenance schedule?
So that's a good, so you have the list of Tier 1 and Tier 2, which were part of this overall $10 million list of deferred capital. So what Councilmember Olivier, correct me if I'm wrong, is saying is that he would like to add a couple of projects from this overall $10 million list to Tier 1 of my recommendations as far as priorities. So rather than having almost 1.3, it would end up being 1.35, of which you have
450 allocated.
450.
Can you explain, Bruce, the Tier 1 versus Tier 2 and how you will prioritize that in terms of the appropriation of the funds as being proposed by Councilmember Baines?
You know what I think that I just like to, let's just not put them on the list. Let's just take them separately, and then that way we can have this discussion about how the administration prioritizes Tier 1 separately from my items. If that's okay. I mean, we can have that discussion later. That's fine. My stuff doesn't not have to piggyback with Member Baines. We just take it separate. I'm okay with that.
You know, quite honestly, Councilmember Olivier, and with all due respect, I think we should probably just add yours in there, and just simplify this entire day. Use $51,000.
Yes.
We can put that.
Come on, it's $1 billion budget. What's another $51,000?
Listen, let's not talk your way out of it. All right?
Okay.
So
May I recommend?
Come on.
We'll add the doors.
Yeah.
And we'll add the Lafayette, and we'll figure out how to do the program.
Thank you. All right.
And Quigley.
Then I'll
is in
withdraw
there.
those motions.
Okay.
So to clarify, you're withdrawing the 3 motions that you made, Councilmember Olivier? Okay.
All right. Let's go to that famous motion by Member Baines. That seems to be the key ingredient to the day's work. So, Member Baines.
Council President,
Yes.
May I request maybe we take about a 15-minute break so that my very capable staff can go through what you've voted on so far, and so that we're all on the same page, because we've kind of gone astray a couple of times. I just would like maybe 15 minutes to get us back on the same, collectively back on the same page.
Thank you.
It sounds good. Would that include the one where?
Yes, we'll
we're
get
starting-
all this clarified so that you can start from a fresh sheet and what we've already voted on and what you still have yet to vote on.
Could we take care of Oliver Baines' motion?
Yes, yes.
Now, or you want?
After.
Afterwards.
Please.
I want it all written down.
Let's take 15 minutes.
Just don't want
and-
everyone walking out of here going, wait a minute, that's not what happened. That's all I'm trying to
That's
do.
a good point of order. So we'll be back here at 11:30. Thank you. To join us, and I think we have a quorum and we can proceed. Why? Okay, I think we have everybody here. So, I think we'll go to item 16 on my list, and that's Public Works, Fund the Neighborhood Streets Program, $1,050,000 to be divided among the 7 districts to repair streets. Motion by member. You want to do that now? We'll do this one if we could just for a moment. So member Brandau motioned, I seconded. Anyone in the public wish to comment on this, please come forward. It's a perfect opportunity. All right, seeing none, we'll bring it back up here. And Member Brand?
I just have a question for Member Brandow, and this really would also apply to Member Baines, too. My quick math, I know Jane's probably still adding the number up, is these two total roughly a couple $1 million. Have you guys identified the offset on these items?
Well, I'm going to defer to Bruce in conversations with Bruce.
as Council Member Brand pointed out, budget staff is still trying to get through all the other additions, changes. I would recommend that Council vote on this motion, up or down, and then that the Council reconvene at 1:30, and that will give us time to come back and tell you where we're at with everything. And then you could, because you haven't seen the list and you haven't reconciled that, and potentially at that point we can maybe bring this to some kind of conclusion.
Okay. I would like to do one thing before we leave, and so we'll table that for the moment, and let's move to item 18. That's $975,000 with items 3, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 17, 21, 22, 23, and 24 to be included in that sum of money. Motion by Member Baines, seconded by me.
We did add Councilmember Olivier's under the maintenance deferral piece.
Okay, with those added as well.
And the number is 948,000.
948,000. Take that out to the public. Anyone in the public wish to be heard on this item, please come forward. Seeing none, back to the dais. The screen is clear. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Now, do we want to adjourn for the balance of the calendar, or do you want to hit a couple more things before we leave? Okay.
So you had, I think, unless Council makes another motion or someone makes another motion, you had one last two. So you have Councilmember Brandow's motion for $1,050,000, and then what was the other one, Councilmember?
We had the sister city and then the record management staff money.
Okay, and Sister City is 15.
Yes, 15,000.
Okay.
Okay, we'll take that up now. Sister City, a motion for $15,000 to support that program. Motion by Member Soria, seconded by Member Brand. Thank you. Let me take it to the public. Anyone in the public wish to discuss this item, please come forward. That is the Sister City allocation. Seeing none, back to the dais. Member Olivier.
Traditionally, I'm going to oppose this one, and here's the reason why. Traditionally, the Sister Cities, at least since I've been on since the Great Recession, traditionally Sister Cities has been a voluntary thing. I've participated in some of it, and I have declined to participate in other events. And I know that Councilmember Westerland, I would say that he was particularly active in it and did a good job with it. But all the Sister Cities activity was done without any taxpayer money. And that's why I'm going to be opposing your motion. I know it's well-intentioned, and I know the good work that the Sister Cities program does. But at this time, when we're trying to prioritize other badly needed things and things for neighborhoods, I know that a lot of the events and functions are held at private residences, and the bill is paid for by private individuals and stuff. And it's my opinion that it should remain that way. So I'm going to be casting a friendly no vote, simply because when we've got problems in neighborhoods the way we do and the things we're dealing with, I just, while I would like to and I like it, I can't justify that kind of spending on food and drink and social when we have people struggling. So I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Thank you. Screen is clear. We'll take a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Let's do that electronically. If you favor this as a yes vote, if you're opposed to the sister city budget, it's a no vote. Motion fails 4-3. Members Baines, Soria, Caprioli are voting yes. Thank you very much. Okay. I forgot the other motion you had, Member Soria, since we're on your items.
We had the motion to create the new position within the city clerk's office to establish and maintain a records management program, which would be an annual funding of $50,000, but for this next fiscal year would be $37,000 with the start date of October. And this is so that our city can be in compliance with state law, which was passed back in 1999. I believe that the council in 2008 adopted a retention schedule in terms of record management, but there is currently no one managing our records, and I think that it's important not only for us to be in compliance, but also for the public to have access to information. And if you guys have any questions, you can, I'm sure the clerk can speak to any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Any member of the public wish to talk about this? This is the opportunity to come forward and discuss it. Seeing none, back to the dais. The screen is clear. All those in favor? Opposed? 5-2 with members Olivier and Brandau opposed. Okay, next, I believe would be the motion by Member Brand to set aside $500,000 for future low-interest loans pursuant to the Water Conservation Act.
From the Water Enterprise Fund.
For Water Enterprise Fund, thank you. Anyone in the public like to discuss this item? Please come forward. We are consistent today. No one's coming forward. So back to the dais. Screen is clear. Any comments, criticism? No? All right. Let's take a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes 7-0.
And I had made one additional motion in terms of 10% additional allocation for public outreach and noticing to make sure that we have adequate funding to make notices available in other languages, and that we're doing proper outreach. We haven't done, yes. I believe that the budget only included an additional $600 increase. I just want to make sure that we have enough money so that we're doing appropriate outreach to all communities, including the Spanish-speaking Hmongs and other communities. Thank you.
Was that $9,100 to be added to the budget?
Yes.
Thank you. And your second was?
Council President, $9,100, we could find $9,100 in Darm's budget. We certainly understand and have heard clearly the need to improve our community outreach, so we'll just do that. I mean, the overall scheme of things, we can find $9,000.
Are you satisfied with that, Member Soria?
Are you saying that we don't need to?
I think he's saying no need to vote.
Budget, you guys will just do it?
We'll just do it.
Right, thank you.
Is that agreeable? Okay, thank you very much. Member Olivier?
I was just going to say how in support of that I was. So good job.
I think that's all the notes I have, save and accept Member Baines' motion.
Council President,
Yes.
did we cover the streets? It was item 16, Public Works. Motion made by Steve Brandau, seconded by you. I don't show a vote on that one. It was for $1,050,000. What did we do with that one?
Or did you want to?
Take the motion, vote up and down, and then we're going to take a lunch break, and we'll come back at 1:30. No, according to...
we didn't.
No, go ahead, do it.
Well, yes, we'll do that. So, anyone in the public wish to discuss the $1,050,000 street maintenance repair, please come forward. Seeing none, is there a request for electronic voting? All right, so we'll vote electronically. The screen is cleared. All those in favor, vote yes. Opposed is a no vote. Motions for the $1,050,000 street road maintenance repair, neighborhood streets program. Thank you. As we vote, Member Brand.
Yes. Again, do we want to just wait till 1:30 just to see the report from the city manager?
I think the city manager wanted an up or down vote, and then that would enable him to do what he wants to do during lunch.
Yeah, you can take the vote, and we can come back, or we'll deal with this on Thursday. I mean, you'll go through all the motions. We just got to go through and try to figure out how we can fund what we can do and what we can't do.
I mean, why stop one vote short? I mean, if that's the process, we should have done everything like that. So we might as well take the vote. We're going to convene for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
The administration's going to come back and give us their opinion on everything that we voted on this morning. And then we can either make adjustments or go from there.
So, city attorney, is from a procedural point of view, if let's say we voted for majority votes for the item, after lunch, city manager presents a scenario where we may be short. Can we come back and amend that? Can that be done?
Yes, it can be changed all the way up until the final vote on the budget.
Okay, so I mean, I'll be supporting it, subject to verification of funds to fund it.
Thank you. Member Olivier?
No, I'm no.
You're in support of this one as well?
I don't know about that one. Put the thing up on the thing.
All right, let's take a vote. Everyone, please punch up, please. All right, it passes 6-0, one abstention by Member Olivier.
I want to make sure. I'm not Nancy Pelosi. You have to vote for it and see what's in it. No.
All right. Does anyone have any other motions that they're aware of that we haven't covered?
Council President, point of order, I'd like to record the abstention in memory of Councilmember Blongjiang, the last member to abstain.
Where is he today? All right. I think that's the business of the morning. We'll come back at 1:30 with Member Bain's motion for sure and the update from the city attorney's office. Okay.
This is what I think.
It's away.
Heck if I know.
Let's resume our budget hearings for the afternoon session. City Manager, what do you have a view on how we should handle the rest of the day?
Well, I can tell you that we huddled up. We are about $2+ million out of budget or out of balance. We are looking at some options, but I don't think at this point we're ready to roll anything out. Again, as we talked about the list of deferred capital, some of this may be contingent upon the carryover being higher than projected, but at this point it's premature for us to do anything. Give us a couple of days, and we'll come back with maybe a recommendation as far as how we try to address what it seems to be an interesting dynamic in that there's a significant investment in parks.
Folks,
And there's
excuse me, Bruce.
investment.
Hey, guys, let's listen up.
In a number of areas. So I think overall this is a great budget. But we do have a $2 million delta between, a balanced budget. And I don't believe we can get to $2 million, but we'll try to take a shot at knocking that down a little bit, and we'll come back with something on Thursday for your consideration.
And the will of the council, Do we want to set this over till Thursday and listen to more numbers, information? Everybody, Councilmember Baines.
Council President, I just think by way of process, there's really nothing more we can do today. We can't adopt anything until Thursday anyway. So I would recommend that we adjourn for the day and finish this on Thursday.
Seeing no one, oh, wait a minute. No, we're clear. So let's adjourn until Thursday and get all your stuff ready. That seems to be the D-Day. So thank you, staff, for being here and being patient with us. We really appreciate that. Thank you.